Well, let's set the scene. It was Thanksgiving Eve, 1971. You've got this seemingly unremarkable man, dark suit, boards a Boeing 727 in Portland, Oregon. Just looks calm, quiet, unassuming. But by nightfall, he becomes this absolute legend, hijacks the plane, gets $200,000 in ransom, and then just parachutes out into a storm. Gone. Never seen again.
It's just an incredible story. And yeah, over 50 years later, we're still fascinated, aren't we? Mostly because of that disappearing act. Like, who was this guy, D.B. Cooper? Did he actually die in the jump? Or did he somehow, live out a secret life somewhere? That's really the heart of the mystery.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. Our mission really is to unpack this thing. Look at the crime itself, how audacious it was. Then the escape, which seems almost impossible. And explore these theories that, well, they just won't go away. Why are we still talking about this? So, consider this your shortcut, your deep dive into America's most famous skyjacking. All right, let's rewind back to the beginning. So we know the date, November 24th, 1971, Northwest Orient Flight 305, Portland. But let's focus on those first moments. This Dan Cooper figure boarding the plane. He just seemed like any other business traveler. Dark suit, sunglasses, polite, very normal.
Yeah, but what's really striking is how fast that normal image just shattered. Pretty soon after takeoff, he flags down a flight attendant and hands her a note. And she just figures it's his phone number. Maybe he's hitting on her,
Right, totally mundane. Until he leans over, speaks quietly, and says those words, "Miss, you better read that note. I have a bomb." Just like that.
Yeah.
Everything changes. His place in history, locked in right there. And his plan, it was so specific. His demands were crystal clear. $200,000 cash, 4 parachutes, and a refueled plane ready to go. So they land in Seattle. He gets the money, lets the passengers go. Very calm, very efficient. But then comes the really bold part, doesn't it? The actual escape plan.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it moves from hijacking into legend. He tells the remaining crew, fly towards Mexico.
Yeah.
But not just any flight plan. He specifies low altitude, slow speed, and critically, he wants the rear staircase of the 727 unlocked and down. Then somewhere over these dense, dark forests in Washington state, middle of the night, freezing storm, he just opens that staircase and jumps.
That's wild. Audacious barely covers it. Think about those conditions. Nighttime, pouring rain, freezing cold, and he's supposedly wearing dress shoes.
Loafers.
Not exactly skydiving gear.
Not at all.
So, given all that, you really have to ask, could anyone possibly survive that jump? What's the thinking there? Why do so many believe he died?
Well, yeah, for a lot of people, the answer is just a flat no. He couldn't have made it. The main argument is simply that the conditions were too severe. He likely died on impact. It was freezing, raining hard, and that terrain below, it's incredibly rugged. Dense woods, ravines, and like you said, the shoes, the business suit. No experienced skydiver would dream of jumping like that. In that weather, it really points towards him probably not surviving the landing.
And the FBI, they went all out, right? Searched for weeks.
A massive search.
And found nothing. No body, no parachute, zip. Like he evaporated.
Exactly.
But then, almost 10 years later, 1980 rolls around, and there's this huge twist. Some kid finds a bundle of cash, about $5,800.
Right, on the banks of the Columbia River.
Still in rubber bands, partially buried. And it's Cooper's ransom money.
Verifiably his money.
That fine, it's tangible proof, but man, does it make things even more confusing.
It really does. It's this concrete link to the crime decades later. But what does it mean? Did he lose it during the jump? Did he bury it there and never come back? Did someone else find it earlier? It doesn't confirm he died, but it certainly doesn't prove he lived and thrived either. It just adds another layer of, enigma to the whole thing.
So, okay, if he didn't necessarily die, who was he? That leads us to probably the most famous suspect, right? Richard McCoy.
Ah, McCoy.
His story is, it's eerily similar. Just a few months after Cooper, April 72, McCoy hijacks a plane, almost the exact same way. Demands money, parachutes, jumps out.
The parallels are uncanny. He even used a similar sort of fake bomb threat.
She got caught, though. Then escaped prison in this dramatic fashion, but eventually died in a shootout.
Yeah, and because the methods were so alike, some in the FBI were absolutely convinced McCoy had to be Cooper. It just seemed too coincidental.
But there were problems with that theory.
Big problems. First, McCoy had an alibi. His family swore he was home for Thanksgiving dinner when Cooper hijacked Flight 305. And maybe more decisively, years later, when DNA tech got better, they tested evidence from the Cooper plane, like the tie Cooper left behind. It didn't match McCoy.
So, as tempting as that connection is,
it doesn't quite hold up under scrutiny. Fascinating detour, but probably not our guy.
Which brings us to maybe the most romantic theory, the most intriguing one anyway, that D.B. Cooper simply got away with it all, survived the jump, landed somewhere, vanished.
Lived happily ever after, at least quietly ever
Sat,
after.
yeah, just melted away.
And if that's true, you have to wonder, what kind of person could pull that off? Who was Cooper? The theories here are interesting. Some suggest maybe a military background, like a disgruntled Vietnam vet. Someone
Yeah.
trained in parachuting, survival, evasion.
Does that make sense?
Others think maybe an insider, a former Boeing employee, perhaps.
Yeah.
Someone who knew the 727 inside and out, knew about the rear air stair capabilities, knew the flight procedures.
Because his instructions were very precise.
Extremely precise, which suggests, more than just casual knowledge.
And let's not forget the money itself. $200,000 back in 1971.
Huge amount of money then.
It's over, what, $1.5 million today?
Roughly, yeah.
Now think about that. That sum, it wasn't so much that spending it would immediately flag you, but it was absolutely enough to just disappear, start over completely.
Right. Buy a small business with cash, live modestly in some small town, stay off the grid, no big flashy purchases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe the real genius wasn't just the hijacking, but understanding that amount was perfect for vanishing.
Yeah, the core idea here is that he was clever enough not just to plan the jump, but the aftermath. How to lay low, how to not get caught later. And the fact that almost none of the money ever turned up again kind of supports this, doesn't it? Suggests it was either spent very carefully, very slowly, or maybe it's still stashed somewhere, or, well, lost somewhere in the woods if he didn't make it. But if he did get away, he was patient.
So where does that leave us? Well, the FBI officially closed the active investigation back in 2016.
Basically admitted defeat, in a way.
Yeah, they said, look, we've got no definitive fingerprints, no real name confirmed, no parachute ever found, no body. It's just unsolved.
And that central question just hangs there, doesn't it? Was D.B. Cooper just some reckless guy who took a crazy gamble and paid the ultimate price out there in the woods? Or was he truly unique, the only person in history to hijack a plane, get the ransom, and actually vanish without a trace, getting clean away with it?
It makes you think, what is it about this story? Why does D.B. Cooper still grab us, 50-plus years on? Is it just that we love a good unsolved mystery? The idea of the perfect crime?
Maybe, or maybe it's something deeper. Perhaps it just taps into this fascination with audacity itself, the sheer nerve of it, that one person could try something so incredibly bold against the system and maybe, just maybe, succeed.
Something for you to think about, definitely. Because the legend, well, it clearly lives on.